Hello and welcome back to the channel. On the 26th of February 2026, Mercury will be going retrograde in the sign of Aquarius, and it will be retrograde for about 22 days until the 20th of March. So while it is in Aquarius, it will also be conjunct with Rahu, Mars, and for a short period of time the Sun as well. So there's lots of energy in the sign of Aquarius. And whichever house the sign of Aquarius sits in your chart, that house will feel a little bit intense. Now, Mercury retrograde in an air sign like Aquarius can show, first of all, administrative hurdles. So you may find that you have to jump through hoops just to get the basic things done. Things may take twice as long. So it can be a little bit of a frustrating period. Here you could be replaying and analyzing old communication or interactions from the past. So this could be from years ago, and you could be searching for the meaning, or you might have some regrets in what you said, and you could be reflecting on that. There can be some karmic rebalance required. So during this period, there could be a gain of some sort or a loss of some sort, depending on your past actions. There can also be technological issues, so with issues with your phone, laptops, iPads, glitches on the banking apps. So backup of data is recommended. So let's see how this transit will affect all the zodiac signs in a bit more detail. And as always, I recommend looking at transits from the moon first and foremost. For Aries natives, Mercury will be retrograde in your 11th house from the 26th of February, and it will also be conjunct with Rahu, Mars, and for a period of time the Sun as well. So lots of energy in your 11th house over the next 22 days or so. And this can show a period where you are thinking about your future, so your future orientated goals and what your hopes and aspirations are for the future. Now, Aries people generally have very good energy because the lord of their chart is Mars. And Mercury being retrograde in conjunction with the lord of your chart, Mars, can show, first of all, that you can be slowed down completely. So you may find that you are being faced with unnecessary administrative hurdles in anything that you're trying to do. And this could stem from not being organized or having too much clutter in your mind and making it difficult to know where to begin, and therefore low productivity. So if this is the case, then you need to organize your thoughts and information a lot better during this retrograde period and make the decisions that you need to make. Mercury retrograde in the 11th house can show a karmic gain. So if in the past you have been generous or you have done some kind of good deed, then this retrograde period can give you some merit or some sort of gain, and this can be like a financial gain. So such as being awarded a special offer or discount to buy something, or it could be winning $50 on the lottery. So it can show some positive energy coming your way if you are lucky. If not, then what this Mercury retrograde can show is a potential delay in receiving money. So it can cause a bottleneck in the flow of your income. As Mercury is ruling your 6th house, you can be over-analyzing your financial situation. There can be some obsessive worrying about money, and that is because maybe Saturn is in your 12th house, which may be affecting your work, and therefore you may have also a lot of expenses. So just on the theme with work, Saturn is not in the ideal house. So Saturn in the 12th house can be causing some issues with your employment. So Mercury retrograde here can cause some repetitive struggles with 6th house themes. So this is a time where you may decide to change your career or alter your career. Here you may take a job which you may not really want to do. So it's not really your first choice, or you'll do something that you did in the past, but it's not what you want to do now. But because Mercury, your sixth lord, is retrograde, it can show some unfinished karma with that type of work. In terms of your health, there can be some recurring issues which can resurface during this Mercury retrograde period. It is also possible to experience malfunctions or technical issues with your communication devices, such as with your phones, tablets, and laptops. So for example, you might drop your phone, which may require immediate repairs. Or if you buy something, there can be poor judgment. Or if you order something online, you buy something from Amazon, there could be delivery errors or shipping delays because of Mercury retrograde. Now, we shouldn't really stop living our life just because Mercury has gone retrograde. And for many people, the effect of Mercury retrograde could be very subtle, or you may not experience anything at all. But you just have to make sure your details and if you're ordering anything is correct from your end. Since Mercury is ruling your sixth house and it's in the 11th house, so you may find yourself overthinking and over-analyzing your network circle and your conversations. So you may over-scrutinize the interactions that you've had, maybe in the last 6 months or year, or replaying past conversations in your mind. Or there could be, gestures in your mind, and you could be rereading conversations from social media or messaging apps. And getting in touch with past people is also a possibility during this period. For Taurus natives, so Mercury will be retrograde in your 10th house from the 26th of February for around 22 days. And while it is here, it will find itself conjunct with Rahu, Mars, and for a period of time, the Sun as well. So there's lots of energy in your 10th house. And this can show that you may have to manage multiple responsibilities. So you could have a few different projects or jobs or tasks that you need to prioritize. So usually when there are lots of planets in the 10th house, it shows having 2 or 3 different kinds of jobs. And when Mercury is retrograde here, it can show that to complete a task or a responsibility can take that extra time. So you really have to be patient during these next few weeks. So firstly, Mercury is a very curious planet, and the sign of Aquarius is a very future-orientated energy. So together, they both are experimental energies. And when Mercury is retrograde, it will make you explore various professions and businesses. So this is a time where instead of starting completely from scratch, you may look at your existing skills in your job or your business and see what else you can do. What different type of job can you do with the skills you have? So this is a good time to really think and research about different careers if you are looking for a change. And because Mercury is ruling your second house, you will want to find work which aligns with your personal values. With Mercury and the other fiery risk-taking planets here, it can show that you may not feel completely comfortable with the structure in your current workplace or any potential changes that are due to happen at your workplace. And because you guys are Taurus, and Taurus is a fixed sign, so these people don't really like instability. So they don't want things to change too much. But since all of these planets are in Aquarius, it will make you think about the future. Now, if, for example, you have found a new job recently and you're due to start, then Mercury retrograde can cause some delays with onboarding, where the necessary equipment or systems access or training is not ready. Here, you also have to watch out for unclear communications, unclear conversations, miscommunications, and misinterpreted emails. So it is a good idea to review emails and documents carefully, and you should aim for clarity in all forms of communication, especially related to your work and career, because Mercury retrograde can cause some administrative errors during these next few weeks. Mercury is ruling your second house, and Jupiter is presently transiting here. So both of these planets are retrograde. Jupiter will go direct on the 11th of March, but at the moment both will be retrograde. And when that happens, it means that you may need to rebuild your assets again. So for example, you have your savings, but due to unforeseen expenses or due to the stock market, your assets may take a hit and you have to build them up again. Because Mercury is an Aquarius, you may look at unconventional ways to grow your financial assets. So for example, looking at investing in alternative stocks or stable coins or AI driven markets. The fifth house represents talents, hidden talents, and things that bring you joy. So when Mercury, its lord, is retrograde, you may discover some sort of skill that you have, such as creative flair or athletic ability, or you may discover something new that you enjoy. So perhaps a different taste in music or writing or drawing or reading a different genre. This is a time where you may also use the skills and talents you have to start a business, because your fifth lord, Mercury, is in the 10th house. So for example, you might be good at baking and you decide to start selling cookies or cakes or something like that. Or you could have knowledge and you may decide to become a tutor, like an English tutor or a maths tutor. So something like that. The deep reflective retrograde energy of Mercury here can be channeled into creative pursuits, which makes this period good for creative writers, like those who author fiction books, or this is also good for creating a personal style if you are a designer. For Gemini natives, Mercury will be retrograde in your 9th house from the 26th of February for about 22 days until the 20th of March. So in the 9th house, Mercury will find itself conjunct with Rahu, Mars, and also for a period of time, the Sun, while it is retrograde. So there's a lot of energy in your 9th house, and this can show a period of intense curiosity where you are not really feeling content, and you will have a focus on expansion and a desire for growth. Now, Mercury, it is the lord of your chart. So when it is retrograde, and while it is in this condition, Jupiter is also retrograde in your first house until the 11th of March. So firstly, this can be a period of deep reflection. So you'll be thinking a lot during this time. You will want to move forward, but something will be holding you back. You'll find that anything that you try and get done will take longer than usual, or there will be extra hurdles just to get to your goal. So it is a time for patience and being flexible. Mercury, being the lord of your chart, means that you may go through events or situations which you feel like you have already done before. So you can feel like you are repeating a situation that you may have handled before. When Mercury is retrograde in the 9th house in Aquarius, there can be a personal revolution here. So there can be a radical shift in your thinking and behavior that breaks old limiting patterns to create a more authentic and newer version of yourself. So in other words, you will be restructuring your values and beliefs in this transit, and Jupiter in the first house also shows that. Gemini, being the sign of communication and interaction, means that you will be mentally analyzing conversations from the past. So when we're talking about retrograde planets, we are a lot of the time thinking about, what happened in the past. So you may replay interactions that you've had and search for mistakes. So perhaps you said something in the past which you didn't mean. So you'll be kind of analyzing and trying to regain a sense of control. Mercury is also ruling your fourth house. So as well as remembering past and previous conversations, you will also remember past memories and moments. So perhaps, feeling nostalgic about where you used to live before. So you may think about your childhood, your family, your roots. And this can be a period where a person examines and analyzes their emotional or internal landscape. Mercury being retrograde in the ninth house can make you travel to a place where you have been before. So you may have to return to a place you were in order to experience growth in your life. Now, this doesn't have to be international travel. You could take a road trip to a place that you have already been to. So there can be a repeating theme here, especially since Jupiter is also retrograde in your first house till the 11th of March. So watch out for anything that you have already done that you have to do again during this few week period. If you are studying or learning something, this is a good time to resit an exam or redo a piece of work. So here you can refine your understanding of complex topics and revisit previously covered material. You may also reconnect with mentors here with Mercury in the ninth house, retrograde in the ninth house. So you could bump into an old teacher or an old mentor or old guru who you used to work with and who may have previously influenced your career path. With Mercury retrograde in Aquarius, along with Rahu and Mars and the Sun, this can be a time that you can be innovative. So Aquarius and Rahu, they represent innovation. So now in terms of your home or your conveniences, so this is a time you can purchase a gadget or like an AI powered robot vacuum or something high tech which can bring some benefit to your life, because these planets are in the ninth house. For Cancer natives, so Mercury will go retrograde in your 8th house from the 26th of February 2026, and it will be retrograde for about 22 days. So here it will also be conjunct with Rahu, Mars, and for a short period of time the Sun as well. So there is a lot of energy in your 8th house over the next few weeks, which can make you feel very sensitive. It can make you feel like you are not in control of things and often can show a period of unpredictability. So the 8th house is about death and rebirth. So what that means is that you will have to eliminate or sort out something from the past. So something from the past you have to deal with and let go to make way for the start of something new in your life, because that is the only way you will expand your life, because the next house after the 8th house is the 9th house, which is about expanding your horizons. So in terms of what you have to let go, it can be something small that you need to clear and release. So there can be an ending of some sort, or rather liberating yourself from something. So for example, confronting some sort of fear or trauma or emotions. And it can be something small, but it can be something intense. Because when there is a planet which is retrograde in the 8th house, which is already a deep and inner house, the emotions can become magnified. So it can be a short, intense period. Mercury is a planet of analysis, so it is associated with perfection. And in the 8th house, it is not uncommon to begin thinking about taking care of any nagging health related problems that you may have put off. So Jupiter is in your 12th house, so this is the perfect period for healing. Mercury retrograde can make a person find a doctor or a remedy that meets their health needs. So researching the right solutions. So you may wait until it is direct to have the treatment, but the retrograde cycles offer an opportunity to do some research. So gaining some insight into a health issue is possible during a Mercury retrograde period. Now, if you look at Jupiter, it is also aspecting your 8th house, and it is also aspecting Mercury. And both of these planets are to do with learning and processing information. So this is a powerful placement for deep research, investigation, and gaining profound knowledge. So this period, this transit, may help you if you are working in an area where experimentation and research is required. Mercury is ruling your 12th house, and when it is retrograde, it can show there is a karmic debt of some sort, or some sort of unresolved business from the past which requires something from your end. So when it is in the 8th house, you need to let go and break free from any codependency. You need to let go of other people's values that have been instilled in you. So in other words, you need to build your own self-worth. Then you'll be able to move forward in your life. The sign of Aquarius, Rahu, Mars, Sun, these are all independent energies. So this is a time you need to depend more on yourself rather than being controlled by others. So Cancer people, they are generally dependent people. So they need someone in their life. However, in life, you also have to be able to survive on your own. So that is what this phase is pushing you towards. Mercury is ruling your 3rd house. And when it is retrograde, any paperwork, forms for insurance, inheritance, tax. So this process, you may need to go through unnecessary hurdles to get the result at the end. So you may need to jump through hoops just to make some progress. So it can be a little bit frustrating. For traveling, there could be delays or cancelled flights or even lost luggage, because Mercury is ruling both your traveling houses, so the 3rd house and the 12th house. So take care and try to remain flexible if plans don't go accordingly. For Leo natives, Mercury will be retrograde in your 7th house from the 26th of February until the 20th of March. So around 22 days. So while it is retrograde, it will also be conjunct with Rahu, Mars, and for a short period of time, the Sun as well. So there's a lot happening in your 7th house. So firstly, when there is a lot of energy in your 7th house, it means that there is an increase of high activity, which means there is a need for you to be adaptable as relationships dynamics may be changing. So for Leos, there is a need to be independent in relationships, and sometimes this can be paired with a lack of communication or emotional distance. So when Mercury is retrograde here, it is a time where you need to be involved with your partner a lot more. So there could be too much of an emotional distance, or communication needs are not met. So you will need to work on that during this phase. And with Rahu in this house, the past 8 months or so, you'll find that there is a need for you to invest more time and effort with your spouse, if you have one. So this retrograde period is about doing what you missed a little bit better. So collaborating a little bit better. Now, Mercury is a planet of learning and processing information. And when it is retrograde, it can be an opportunity to learn from past mistakes. Or you might look back and think about your past relationships, because you will go through a period of deja vu, which means that you can experience repeated similar relationship issues. So this retrograde Mercury is telling you that you need to learn something. You need to change something so that you don't have to go through the same problems all the time. And remember, Jupiter is also aspecting your 7th house. So building your knowledge in the area of relationships is very important here. Now, if you're not in a relationship, this can also be in terms of friendships, where you are having some issues with your friends or other people that you come across. So you need to learn how to communicate a lot better. Now, not everyone will be in a relationship, so how will this transit affect you? Well, if you are single, this can be a time of internal reflection. So a time where you may look inwards and think about what you really need in a partner. What is really important to you? Or this can be a time where you think about your past relationships, your exes. So you can be revisiting old communication that you had with them in your mind. You could be rereading past messages from them and analyzing those conversations, which many people do. And this period is also an opportunity to reunite with old friends, as Mercury is ruling your 11th house. The 7th house represents agreements and commitments that are made and binded in contracts. So Mercury retrograde can show having to renegotiate terms of references or certain arrangements. So making a new deal, one which may suit you a lot better. So perhaps you may be going through a divorce where you need to come to an agreement with your ex-partner. In terms of work, there could be employment contracts that you are waiting for, but there could be a delay in issuing the paperwork due to extended background checks or other administrative hurdles. Now, Mercury is ruling both your money houses, so the 2nd and the 11th. So this is a time you will be auditing and analyzing your finances in a lot more detail. So creating a budget, tracking the spending, getting financial advice, and establishing a system so you can manage any bills using digital tools, perhaps, because Mercury is in conjunction with Rahu in the sign of Aquarius. So making use of banking apps and automation to improve how you manage your money. For Virgo natives, Mercury will be retrograde in your 6th house from the 26th of February for 22 days. So here, it will also be conjunct with Rahu, Mars, and for a short period of time, the Sun as well. So Mercury here is in its own house, so to speak, because the 6th house is where it is naturally exalted. So there will be 6th house themes that you experience across the next 22 days. So Mercury is the lord of your chart, and when it is retrograde and in the 6th house, it means that during this period, life may not move in a linear way. So as you expect. So there will be some twists and turns and potential for misunderstandings or miscommunication. So you may need to jump through hoops. So in other words, you may need to go through unnecessary tasks in order to achieve a simple goal, which can cause some annoyance and frustration during this period. So remain flexible during this time and be ready to adjust in case plans do not go accordingly. Now, when there are lots of planets in the 6th house, which is the case you have, it can signify a rather busy period for you around your work or your day-to-day life. And you may feel a strong compulsive need to be productive. But this energy can make you feel anxiety and stress with the sheer number of things you may need to get done. And as I mentioned, with Mercury retrograde, having to jump through hoops unnecessarily just to get the simple things done. So we have all been there where we have to go through unnecessary hurdles to get the basic things done. So it can be a bit like that. This transit is happening in your 6th house. So in terms of your work, there could be mistakes that you need to fix. So tasks which need to be redone. It could be redoing tasks or tasks that you have been sitting on or you have buried somewhere and in your emails, so you may need to attend to those emails. Now, also in terms of your work, with Mercury ruling the 10th house and Jupiter also being in retrograde motion until the 11th of March, so there can be a change in the direction of your career or changes in your role where you could be given someone else's responsibilities. So you may find yourself covering someone else's role, perhaps a colleague's role, for a few weeks, and that can contribute to the busy period which I mentioned earlier. If you do change your job during this month or during these 22 days, you may find that there will be some delays in offers or contracts. So for example, if you are on a fixed term contract, this will be a time you need to sign an updated contract, but there can be delays in issuing this to you. Now, in terms of health and wellness, you may find that you need to jump through hoops where you go to the doctor and the doctor is not able to help, so you need to go see a specialist or another doctor. So this retrograde Mercury can cause delays in getting to the bottom of your health issue and, improving your health and wellness. Or this can be a time where you need to repeatedly visit the doctor again, or a time where old and past lingering health issues can pop up again. So definitely a phase where you need to look after yourself. Mercury retrograde in Aquarius can show reconnecting with old work colleagues. So you could be out and about and you bump into someone you used to work with, and therefore feeling nostalgic and reflecting on past moments and memories can flow through your mind during this phase. So perhaps there is something which triggers a past memory, something you learned from someone, something you learned in your previous job perhaps. So you can use that skill or experience that you gained previously to be innovative in your current role. So keep a lookout for that. For Libra natives, Mercury will go retrograde in your 5th house from the 26th of February, and it will be retrograde for about 22 days. And it will also be conjunct with Rahu, Mars, and for a period of time, the Sun as well. So there's lots of energy in your 5th house. And what that can mean is that there can be a powerful focus on 5th house matters such as romance, creativity, children, and risk-taking. So firstly, with all of these energies in the 5th house, there will be an increased level of pleasure, romance, and fun. So all of these planets are aspecting your 11th house, giving you a fulfillment of desires. Mercury retrograde is a time where the hopes and wishes you have always had from the past can finally get fulfilled, and therefore you can feel a state of deep satisfaction. So this would be the case if you are going through a good dasha period. So for example, the dasha of the ruler of the 5th house or 11th house or even Venus. So the dasha period has to line up with the significance of the result. Now the 5th house, it represents romance and dating. So Mercury retrograde means this will be a period where you will learn some things about relationships. So as everyone knows, relationships have their challenging moments where everyone is also continuously learning in how to maintain a happy and healthy relationship. So this retrograde is about learning something new or using the experience from the past relationships that you may have had to navigate any current relationship issues you may be having. And Jupiter is also aspecting your Mercury and 5th house. So it's giving you knowledge on how to improve your connection with the person you are with. If you are dating someone, a retrograde planet in the 5th house is a time where you can really get to know a person on a much deeper level. So perhaps sharing personal things with each other. So you are really going beyond the surface level and having deeper interactions. And also, if you have been away from your partner, this is a time you can be reunited with them during this period. So people say not to start anything new during a retrograde period, but that is not always correct. So a retrograde period can be a time to accomplish something which you may have missed before. So something that you had in your mind like 6 months ago, which you haven't done anything about, but now during these 22 days, you can go back and complete it or do it. Now, because this retrograde is happening in an air sign, so communication and technological chaos or interruptions or glitches can occur. Now, many times Mercury has been direct and you may have suffered some travel delays or interruptions. So as I mentioned before, you shouldn't stop living your life or stop doing things, but this is a period where you just need to take extra care with details. So it's a period where you need to remain flexible just in case there are any changes to the plan that you have. And you should allow additional time to travel because your Mercury is ruling both your travel houses, which are the 9th and 12th house. Mercury is ruling your 12th house, so it is the lord of your expenses and it is the lord of, giving. So during this retrograde period, there can be a karmic debt that you may need to pay back. So if in the past you have cheated someone out of money or a time where you have acted unfairly, which is, not common for Libra people because Libra people are very fair. So this is a time where you may need to pay back some money. So for example, if you get a parking or speeding ticket during this time, you can take that as a sign that it is the debt that you have accumulated, and this is perfectly normal. So this happens to everyone, and you haven't done anything wrong, but everyone builds up that karma. So this retrograde period can be about clearing any karma related to the 12th house. and therefore it's a time where you may have to let money go. For Scorpio natives, Mercury will go retrograde in your 4th house from the 26th of February till the 20th of March. So for around 22 days. Here it will also be conjunct with Rahu, Mars, and for a short period of time, the Sun as well. So this may be an eventful period of time with this heavy conjunction of planets. So first of all, there are a lot of separative energies in your 4th house. So Mars, Sun, Rahu, Mercury, none of these are considered ideal in terms of harmonious energy in your domestic life. So therefore, this period can show a change in where you are located. So this could be buying a place, it could be moving houses, moving cities, or even moving countries. So some sort of movement can happen here. Mercury retrograde can actually show moving back to somewhere you may have been before. So this could be moving back to your home city. Jupiter is also retrograde until the 11th of March in your 8th house. So the energy is showing a repeat of something. Mercury retrograde in the 4th house can bring back old memories. So sometimes these old memories can be comforting when a person is feeling nostalgic, and it can create some positive emotions. So for example, with Jupiter's aspect on Mercury and your 4th house, this can be a time where a person can return to the familiarity of their home country. So if you have been away from your homeland or home city, this is the time you can return. Or it could just be a short trip back home for a few weeks. Now, if you are not moving or changing location or experiencing any change physically in your location, then this period can be a time where you may not be feeling secure where you are, or you're not feeling secure emotionally. So you might feel like you need solitude or privacy or independence with these conjunction of planets, because Mars, Sun, and Rahu, these are very independent energies. And so is the sign of Aquarius. So with these energies, you might be striving for independence. So you're striving for change so that you can find your independence. However, with Mercury being retrograde, you may not be able to move forward just yet. So you may be moving back to things, as I mentioned earlier, about returning back to a familiar place. But in terms of moving forward, there may be delays due to Mercury being in retrograde motion. During this retrograde period, old memories or emotions can resurface. So here you may think about your childhood, your family, your roots, and this can be a period where a person examines and analyzes their emotional or internal landscape with a view to rebuild their emotional habits, because Mercury, it is a planet of analyzing, because it is the natural ruler of Virgo. So it has that quality of analyzing, and it also has that quality of learning and being social and being curious as well. So when Mercury is retrograde here, it means you need to find happiness from within yourself rather than from external things. So for example, finding happiness from recognizing your personal strengths. Perhaps you went through a difficult period in the past and you came through it, and you are here today. So you need to acknowledge your worth and capabilities and be kind to yourself in order to feel happiness during this period. Mercury is also ruling your 11th house, and it is retrograde in Aquarius. So this energy can reunite you with old friends, old childhood friends, acquaintances. And Mercury also rules the money that you earn, because it is the ruler of your 11th house. So for some of you, your income may fluctuate, and there could be a delay in getting a salary payment, for example. And here, with Mercury being retrograde, there can also be some kind of karmic financial gain, where in the past you may have been, generous, or you helped someone out, and that good energy can come back during this time, because the retrograde energies means that you can get rewards for past good karma. And finally, Mercury is ruling your 8th house, so this will be a period of heightened emotions, because you are Scorpio people, where most of you have naturally strong emotional intensity, and Mercury is impacting your inner houses. So here, in terms of your personal relationships and family, you may feel some anger, which you may express through cold detachment. So your relationships can suffer a little bit during this period. For Sagittarius natives, Mercury will go retrograde in the sign of Aquarius in your 3rd house from the 26th of February until the 21st of March, so around 22-23 days. While Mercury is retrograde here, it will also be conjunct with Rahu, Mars, and the Sun for a period of time, so there's a lot of activity in your 3rd house. So with so many planets here, you may have a lot of mental clutter, so an accumulation of thoughts, worries, and lots of unprocessed information in your mind. So you may have been taking all sorts of information in during the past 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and now it is the time for organizing all these thoughts, processing all this information that you've been taking in, and making some firm decisions. So for example, friends or people in your network circle may have been in communication with you and you haven't responded, or you have been sitting on emails at work because you have been very busy with other things. So now is the time to start processing all of this information. It's a time for organizing it and decluttering your mind and making these decisions. When Mercury is retrograde in the 3rd house, it is very good for expressing non-verbal communication or creativity. So for example, many people, they express themselves through music or visual arts and movements. So there's a lot of famous artists who convey messages, thoughts and feelings through paintings and drawings. So if you're working in a creative area, then this transit can offer some meaningful ideas to you. Since Mercury is in an air sign, so it is transiting Aquarius, which is an air sign, and it is in the 3rd house, which represents movement. So during this period, you may notice some booking errors. There could be some errors filling out forms, which can result in needing to repeat the task, or there could be a change of plans. Mercury retrograde often disrupts plans, so you should be ready to be flexible and be patient, just in case something doesn't go according to plan. If you are learning anything, either at school or casually in your spare time, then this is a period where you can deepen your understanding of what you are studying. So there are many occasions where we are learning things, but we are not really understanding it, or we're taking in the information, but we're not really processing and understanding it. So just like I said before, this is a time to start understanding the information that you are taking in. And therefore, this period is about slowing down and reviewing what you are learning. So you can find new approaches or strategies to learning here. So it is a good time for that. Mercury is ruling your 7th house. So when it is retrograde in the 3rd house, this is a time there can be relationship lessons that you may need to learn. So the 3rd house is a learning house as well. So it is the early learning of a person. So if you are going through relationship issues or something is not working for you, so if you're struggling to find a partner, for example, you have to learn from past mistakes. You have to refine your approach to relationships. Your Jupiter is in the 7th house, and it is aspecting Mercury. So there are relationship lessons that you need to learn, which I have mentioned in the video I made about Jupiter. So the relationship and marriage area may need some thought and attention, and there are some lessons that you need to learn. And finally, Mercury is ruling your 10th house, and when it is retrograde, there can be delays if you're starting a new job. So there can be delays with onboarding, or the onboarding process may not be complete, or it could be a time where you have to have a second or third interview. So when Mercury is retrograde, that means you need to repeat something. In the sign of Aquarius, where this transit is happening, Rahu and Mars are also here. So you could be struggling with any rigid structure that you have at your workplace. So if something is changing in your workplace, and you might kind of struggle to accept that. And therefore this 3-week period can cause some frustration for you. For Capricorn natives, Mercury will go retrograde in your 2nd house from the 26th of February, where it will also be conjunct with Mars, Rahu, and the Sun for a short period of time. So for 3 weeks, there will be lots of energy in your 2nd house. So lots of things potentially happening in relation to this house. So firstly, with a lot of strong energy here, what can happen is you will want to define your own value system. So you will feel like being on your own, because these energies of Rahu, Mars, Sun, these are all independent energies, and Mercury is like a copycat. So it gets influenced by planets it is surrounded by. So here, for example, you will want to make your own individual decisions regarding finances, or you will want to shape your own character and identity. You will want to have your own belief that guides your actions, your thoughts and feelings, which could be different from your family or the people that you live with. So this could be about shifting your focus from material accumulation to internal security with this retrograde energy of Mercury. In terms of finances, when Mercury is retrograde in the 2nd house, it can create a possibility for technical glitches or banking errors and financial miscommunication. Digital transactions, subscriptions, and financial data can be prone to errors. Here you may also have to revisit any financial decisions that you may have taken over the past 6 months, where, for example, there could be old debts which you need to pay off, or financial agreements which you may have made and now you need to honor them. Mercury retrograde in the 2nd house means you will feel a tendency to think before speaking, which is the right approach during this period. So here you may rethink about conversations that you've had. So you might be replaying conversations in your mind and reflecting on what you have communicated. So this is a time to refine how you communicate. So we've all had those moments where we think, oh, did I say the right thing? Or I could have said that better. So for example, in interviews, when people go for job interviews, many people think about what they have said. So they reflect on their answers and they learn from that, so that the next interview that people give, it goes a little bit better. So Mercury retrograde in the 2nd house is about reflecting on what you have communicated. Now, Mercury is ruling your 6th and 9th houses. So with the 6th house here, there can be some internalized struggles or routine related stress. So you're obviously very busy in your life. So if you are not busy in your work, then your life will be very busy outside of work. So you could have lots of activities going on. You could have lots of children responsibilities. So lots of things happening. So with Mercury retrograde here, so with Mercury being retrograde in your 2nd house, but it is ruling the 6th house, there can be lingering health related issues. So past health issues can pop up. So anything related to the skin or senses or any body part related to the 2nd house, such as, your eyes or, teeth. So you may have to, get those things checked. And finally, there could be some karmic lessons related to debts from the past. The 9th house lord being retrograde can show this is a time you may become your own guru. So you will rely on yourself. You will rely more on your feelings and intuition rather than external mentors, because your Jupiter is also at the moment retrograde, and Jupiter will go direct towards the middle of March. If you are a student, you may need to learn topics yourself rather than depending on the teacher, because the teacher may not have explained things clearly. So you will have to rely on yourself to, understand what you are learning. And finally, there can be some obstacles related to travel. There can be delays, cancelled flights, lost luggage. So this is a time to be flexible and be ready to adjust and adapt. For Aquarius natives, so Mercury will go retrograde in your 1st house on the 26th of February, where it will also be conjunct with Mars, Rahu, and a period of time the Sun as well. So there's a lot happening in your 1st house for these 22 days. Now, these planets in the 1st house, which also include the Sun, Mars, and Rahu, as I just mentioned, these planets are very independent energies. And the sign of Aquarius is also a very independent energy. And Mercury is a copycat planet, so it gets influenced by the planets it is conjunct with. So when it is retrograde, here you will want to build some inner freedom. So you will want to act intentionally and you will want to be authentic. You won't want to change yourself, and therefore this period is not the best for relationships. And if you are with someone, it can show a period of quarreling. Now, Mercury retrograde in the 1st house will trigger an inward reevaluation of your identity and how you are projecting yourself to the world and how you're projecting yourself to others. So this could be a time where you may struggle to outwardly express your inner thoughts, or you may feel misunderstood, which can cause some anxiety and mental stress. Since Mercury is ruling your 5th house and it is in the 1st house, so these houses are to do with new beginnings and starting new things. So when it is retrograde, anything which you have recently started in the past few months, you will be rethinking your life choices rather than initiating something new or initiating permanent changes. So for example, if you have started a relationship recently, so with Jupiter in your 5th house, you may have started some kind of relationship. So here you might think whether the person is right for you. If you're someone who has a fast-paced life or a fast pace of moving, then during this retrograde period, you can feel like you've hit a slowdown. So the energies of Rahu and Mars will want to keep things moving quickly. But Mercury, being retrograde, can make you feel like you've hit a slowdown. And therefore, this Mercury is telling you to think before leaping. So this is a time where you shouldn't act impulsively. With Mercury being your 8th house lord and sitting in the 1st house with Mars and Rahu, so this can show accidents if you are not patient and if you are restless. Mercury ruling your 8th house, so here in the 1st house, you may have to go through a repeated, powerful, profound experience, especially if you are in the dasha of the ruler of the 8th or 12th house or the dasha of Saturn. So for example, this could be your life direction changing once again, or it could be a medical or surgical procedure that needs to be repeated. There can also be some delays in getting insurance payouts or inheritance, or simply there could be some kind of fear which you have to go through again, or some sort of secret can appear on the surface. Mercury retrograde in the 1st house can show how you approach the world may need to be rethought. So here you may have inner conversations with yourself. They can be positive self-talk, and if you are a confident person, you may express exactly how you are feeling during this period. So you may not hold back, because this transit is happening in the 1st house with Mars and Rahu also here. So you may communicate more openly, but what you communicate could be a regret once Mercury goes direct. So it is recommended to be more thoughtful before speaking. And if you're traveling or you are moving around, so it's a cliche, travel delays, cancellations can happen. But the biggest thing is to remain flexible here and to be able to adjust if plans don't go as expected. For Pisces natives, so Mercury will go retrograde in your 12th house in the sign of Aquarius, where it will also be conjunct with Rahu, Mars, and for a period of time, the Sun as well. So there's a lot of energy in your 12th house here, and firstly, this can show a period of high expenditure. So this expenditure can be related to something that brings you peace and comfort. So for example, traveling, or some kind of lifestyle costs, or it could be some medical related expenses. With lots of planets in the 12th house, this period can show escaping from something, or surrendering, or letting go of something in your life. So this could be an emotional release or a mental release. So for example, if someone passes away, people usually shed tears, and tears are considered healing because they act as natural biological mechanisms to process emotions and restore mental balance. Now, Mercury is not ideal in the 12th house. So when it is retrograde, it will affect you more on the subconscious realm, where you may think about the past and you may think about memories. So you might reflect back on locations where you were living, for example, or you might reflect back on your mother or family, and there can be something unresolved which you are repeatedly trying to process in your mind. So this period will make you more introspective rather than giving external results. With Mercury retrograde in your 12th house, you will have some inner conversations with yourself. So you might be talking to yourself. You might have a lot of thoughts going through your mind. And this could be positive self-talk where you are, reinforcing positive beliefs. Or it could be negative self-talk where you could be criticizing yourself, criticizing, some of the decisions you may have made. And this could be the case because Saturn is in your 1st house, and Saturn is more of a pessimistic energy. This is also a time to think before speaking, being more thoughtful so that it will reduce the chance of any misunderstandings during this retrograde period. Mercury is ruling your 4th house. So here, when it is retrograde, there can be some property related things related to the past which you may need to attend to, which you may have brushed under the carpet. So these property related things can come to the surface, which will need your attention. So this could well be something broken in your home which you need to fix, or there could be paperwork or contractual issues or changes if you are renting a place, for example. Or this can show returning to an old place where you may have lived before. Mercury is also ruling your 7th house. So here, when it is in the 12th house, it can show your personal relationships or your social network. It won't unfold in a straight line. So there could be pauses, there could be returns, and moments which may feel out of sync. There can be something karmic where you might find yourself drawn back to a familiar face from a faraway place because something could be unfinished. Or this can also bring communication gaps or long distance relationships.